Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Braj Jana Ranjana Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prevrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Shri Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prevrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glorious to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Rampada Swamiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati. We can do our Guru prayers now. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Hare Hare Priye Pancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, I am really fortunate to be here in the presence of Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Mai, and Shri Gaur Nitai and Srila Prabhupada. I've been asked to give a lecture on the life and teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So I accept that as a service to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. How many of you know who Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is? So not too many. So for the people who don't know who Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is, he is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And on the altar, if you see under Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, right over there, there's 5 frames, and that's our Guru Parampara. So the second to Srila Prabhupada, right next to him, is his spiritual master, his Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a great acharya himself. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also known as the Lion Guru because he was so powerful and strong in whatever he did. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Mriganam cha mrigendroham, he says, I'm the lion of all animals. So the lion has a special significance. And so before I go ahead to speak about the glories and life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I just want to talk a little bit about our relationship with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and what he and all the acharyas came to the world to give us. So how many of you know what they came to give us? Yeah? Love for Krishna, exactly. She nailed it. And so there's different levels of love for Krishna, and they came to give us the topmost level of love for Krishna. And I'm just going to tell a small story from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita about Narada Muni's experience in this topic. So once Narada Muni sees a great Brahmana, and the Brahmana does lots of charity and deity worship, and he says to the Brahmana, you are the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy. And the Brahmana says, actually, there's a king in South India, and he is the greatest recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, because everywhere in his kingdom, wherever you go, there's always a reverberation of Lord Krishna's name. So Narada Muni goes there, and the king says, actually, Lord Indra is the supplier of all the products we need. So Lord Indra is the actual recipient of Krishna's mercy. And Narada Muni goes to Indraloka, and he sees that Indra is worshipping Lord Krishna in the form of Vamanadev. So Narada Muni starts praising Indra. He says, Lord Krishna appeared as your younger brother just because you asked him. So you are the greatest devotee of the Lord. And Indra says, no, I'm such a bad person that I thought I was God, and I completely declined that Krishna was God, and I sent so much flooding and torrents of rain to Gokula, and Krishna had to lift the Govardhan hill. So he said, I'm actually an offender. So he said, but if you really want to know who's the actual recipient of Krishna's mercy, he said, go to your father, Lord Brahma. He's the direct son of Lord Krishna. So Narada Muni went to Satyaloka, and then he sees Brahma worshipping the Mahapurusha form of the Lord. And after the Mahapurusha lies down to take rest, Narada Muni goes and starts praising Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma gets mad at him. He said, oh, my son, is this what I've taught you? He said, this is completely false. He said, I stole the calves and the cowherd boys of Krishna. So he said, I'm the greatest fool. And he said, but the greatest devotee is Lord Shiva. And then he goes to Kailasa mountain, Narada Muni, and then there he sees Shiva joyfully dancing, singing the names of Lord Krishna. So Narada Muni goes and starts praising Shiva. And Lord Shiva gets so mad. Lord Shiva says, how dare you do that? He said, I'm a completely ignorant person. And then he said, but if you really want to know who is the actual devotee of the Lord, go and see Prahlad Maharaj in Sutala Loka. Because he said, for Prahlad Maharaj, Narsimhadev came. And he took an avatar. So he goes to Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj says, oh no, look at me right now. He came once to slay my demoniac father, and now I'm just here enjoying, but there's no Krishna with me. So he says, but go to Hanuman. He served Lord Rama 24/7. That was his thing. So go to Kimpurusha Loka, where Hanuman resides, and go praise him. So he goes to Kimpurusha Loka, and he sees Hanuman. And Hanuman is meditating on Lord Rama. And then he starts praising Hanuman. And then Hanuman says that, oh no, where is Lord Rama here? I'm just here. Lord Rama's in his abode. So he said, I cannot be the greatest devotee of the Lord. But the Pandavas, they are the greatest devotees of the Lord. So Narada Muni goes to the Pandavas. And the Pandavas were so intimate with Krishna that he used to eat with them. He used to sleep with them. He used to walk around with them. And he was Arjuna's charioteer in the battle of Kurukshetra. So the Pandavas were really close. But then when Narada Muni went and started praising the Pandavas just hung their head down and said, Krishna only comes when we're in calamities, when we have troubles. And now Krishna's not with us. He's in Dwarka. So he said, he's with the Yadu dynasty. Go, they're the real recipients of Krishna's mercy. So he goes to Dwarka and he sees the Yadu dynasty. And then he starts praising them. And the Yadu dynasty says, yeah, of course, we're related to Krishna. Some are his wives, some are his sons, some are his teachers, but we're not his dearest friends. He said, Uddhava, though, is his dearest friend. So go and tell Uddhava that he is the greatest devotee. So he goes to Uddhava, and Uddhava said, yeah, I thought I was the greatest devotee until the other day I went to see the gopis. He said, when I went to see the gopis, my ego was smashed into powder. And he said, in my next life, even if I take up birth as a creeper in Gokula, where I can get the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, then I consider myself to be blessed. So at the end, the conclusion is that the love of the gopis is the highest. So you cannot go beyond the love of the gopis for Krishna. And that is the love that the Acharyas or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to give us. And now there's a question, a doubt may come that all these people, the Brahmana, the king, Lord Indra, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Prahlad Maharaj, Hanuman, the Yadu dynasty, the Pandavas, and Uddhava, none of them could get the love of the gopis. So we are just fallen souls in Kali Yuga. How are we supposed to get that love of Godhead, right? So, and then the process is again given in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and there's a story of a boy named Gopakumar, and he got a mantra, a secret mantra from his guru, and with that mantra, he just keeps ascending to higher planetary systems, and finally he comes all the way to Vaikuntha Dham, and then he sees that Lord Vishnu is there with all his opulence and 4 arms and everything, but he says, this is not what I'm looking for, and he clings on tight to the mantra, and he keeps going higher. Then he goes to Ayodhya Dham, and he sees Lord Rama with Mother Sita and all his opulence. But he says, this is still not the highest pleasure which I'm looking for. And he keeps chanting that mantra and goes higher to Dwarka. And he sees Krishna with his 16,108 queens and all his ministers and everything. But he says, this is getting closer, but this is not what I'm looking for. He keeps chanting the mantra. He holds on tight. And he goes to Mathura. And he sees Krishna as a prince with all his attendants. But he thinks, this is very, very close. But this is really not what I'm looking for. I need something exactly there. And then finally, after chanting the mantra, he goes to Goloka. And there he sees Lord Krishna with Srimati Radharani and the cowherd friends. And then he says, this is what I'm looking for. And then he becomes a cowherd boy and then gets the love for Krishna. And so, just like his guru gave him a mantra, they came to give us a mantra. And does everyone know what the mantra is? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's the thing which is going to take us by hand, step by step, and put us right at Krishna's feet. And that's what the Acharyas came to give us, the Mahamantra. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came. But now, at that time, it was a secret mantra, but now it's open. Everyone can have it. And now, since it's so easily accessible, people are losing value for it. They're not valuing it much as it's supposed to be valued because they don't know that it has the potency to take you back to Godhead. And that's why when the Acharyas came and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they gave books. They gave prolific literature which will help you get faith and attraction for the holy name. And the holy name and the books combined will take you to Goloka. And that's why it's very important, and Prabhupada always emphasized that chanting and reading books should always be balanced, because you stop doing either one, you lose faith for the other. And that it's going to be a great stumbling block on the path for you to go back to Godhead. So that is what they all came to give us. So since we know the reason for their appearance now, I'm going to go a lot into the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So a little bit about him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a great, great devotee of the Lord. He was also known as the 7th Goswami. Usually there are 6 Goswamis, but he was known as the 7th Goswami because of his great faith in Lord Chaitanya's mission and his great wanting to spread the mission all over the world, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this mission will spread, will go into every town and village. But now, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time to now Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, it was lost. The knowledge and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were either misinterpreted or lost. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and actually revived the whole Mayapur, and he took care of the whole Gaudiya Math. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was his son, and he was born on February 6th, 1874. And actually, before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the dream of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he says, "Is this why I have sent you? Of course, you're a magistrate, you're a judge, and you have a family, but you're only spreading my mission in a small range. You should take it outside India." And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "I'm right now bound because I have a duty. I have a large family to take care of. I can't just leave everything." And then, so he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Please send one of your intimate associates who will come and assist me in spreading your movement." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agrees to that. And after that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he used to live in Hrsta, in Jagannath Puri. So he prayed to Lord Jagannath and his external energy, Bimala Devi. So he prayed that, "O Lord Vishnu, please send one of your rays to come and help me." So that's why later Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is known as the ray of Lord Vishnu. So, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born, and he had lots of auspicious signs in his body after his birth. And one thing was his mother's umbilical cord was draped across his left shoulder and up his back like a Brahman thread. And that left a permanent mark on his body. And the astrologer said that it's a really nice thing. It's a nice sign in a baby. And his brain was large because he was so intelligent. His brain was large when he was big. And that made his head look really large for his body. And even in his astrology, when the astrologers were checking his chart, they said, "This baby has all the 32 symptoms of a godly person. So your child isn't ordinary." So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very happy seeing all these signs in his son. And during his Annaprasanna ceremony, they had different articles placed, which would actually determine the propensities or inclinations of a child when they grow up. So they had like money and like a knife and etc. And they also had the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now, his name was Bimal Prasad because he was born with the blessings of Bimala Devi. His name was Bimal Prasad, his birth name. So baby Bimal Prasad went, and he, without hesitation, went and grabbed the Srimad Bhagavatam. And seeing this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was overjoyed because that's what he wanted. He wanted his son to preach the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so once when he was 5 years old, so in Jagannath Puri, here was the temple, here was their house, and here was the Gundicha temple. So every single time they had a Rath Yatra, they had to pass through, the cart had to pass through Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. So once when Bimal Prasad was just 5 months old, the cart was coming in the procession, and then it halted for 3 days right in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. And they tried to move it. They brought elephants, and they did all the possible endeavors to move the cart. But when everything failed, they thought, Jagannath wants to stay, so he'll stay as long as he wants to stay. And all the 3 days, Bhaktivinoda Thakur held a grand Sankirtan. And since he was like not only a magistrate, but the manager of the whole Jagannath temple, they had privileges. So his wife, Bhagavati Devi, the mother of Bimal Prasad, took baby Bimal Prasad on her hands, and she took her up to the cart of Jagannath, and she placed him at Jagannath's feet. And as a reciprocation, Jagannath's garland slipped and circled around Bimal Prasad's neck. And when he was 10 months old, they moved to Nadia in Bengal. And so he was growing up to be a really disciplined kid. And there's a really nice story. When he was just 4 years old, there was some mangoes set on a table to be offered to the Lord. And it was boga mangoes. And 4-year-old Bimal Prasad comes up and grabs a mango. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur looks at him and says, "You are an offender." Because he said, "This is not offered to the Lord yet, and you had the desire to eat it first." And now here's this 4-year-old kid who takes a vow. He says, "I promise to never eat a mango for the rest of my life." And so if you live in Russia, where you get mangoes in a decade, that's no big deal. But he lives in India. He lives in Nadia, where mangoes are a part of your diet. And this vow, he didn't take for a period of time. He took for the rest of his life. And he kept that vow. So he's actually teaching us from the very beginning of his life the lesson of determination. You should be determined. You have a goal, then you just keep walking toward the goal, even though there might be obstacles or hindrances. And after that, again, he was a genius and a very uncanny personality. He could, if he read something once or saw something once, it was like photo memory. It was just imprinted into his head. He had amazing memory power. And at the age of 7, he had memorized the whole Bhagavad Gita, and not only the verses, but the translations, and he could discourse on them. He could discourse on one verse for at least 10 minutes, and he had his own realizations to each verse. And then after that, seeing that his son was so intelligent, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to enroll him in an English-speaking school. So he did that, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that, "I know there might be some risks of studying outside, but he is very strongly founded in Krishna consciousness, so he won't wither away. And then he says the reason I'm sending him to school is because later in his life, he will have to propagate the message of Lord Chaitanya. And now it's all British government, and if he can't speak to them in Bengali, he has to speak to them in Sanskrit in a way they can accept and understand Krishna conscious philosophy. So he said, that's the reason I'm sending my son to school. And even when he was in school, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a very intelligent person. So in his backpack, he would always carry like a Gita Govinda and a Krishna Karanamrita. And so he had like this desk, and he had a drawer in his desk. So when the teacher would come and give him a textbook to read and go away, he would open his drawer and take out his Gita Govinda or Krishna Karanamrita and read that instead of reading his textbooks. But still, he was an academic genius as well, and he actually turned out to be a great mathematician, even though he really never concentrated on those books. And after that, he dropped out of school because he thought that I'm studying like everyone else, and I'm studying even better than everyone else. So everyone will expect me to get a job, have a family, and engage in all the family affairs that everyone else is engaging in. And he says that's the exact opposite of what I actually want to do. I want to go and propagate the message of Lord Chaitanya, so I don't want to be bound with all this. So he dropped out. And at that time, a dropout wasn't common. It was like, seriously, why did you do that? But then he still tolerated everything, and he was approved by his father for doing that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was actually happy that he had in his mind to propagate the message of Lord Chaitanya. So meanwhile, he was taking dictation from his father's Jaiva Dharma and the other literature Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing. And then he decided to learn Sanskrit, because at that time, all the texts were in Sanskrit. And if he had to translate them into like Bengali or something like that, he had to know Sanskrit. So he went to a Sanskrit college, and he learned Sanskrit and astrology. So in astrology, he not only memorized like the techniques and the predictions and how to read a chart, but he knew the whole science behind astrology. And for a job, he was teaching. He was tutoring astrology, and that was taking up lots of his time. And he realized this is not going anywhere. He said, I'm not able to preach. I'm just tutoring astrology, so what am I going to get? So he stopped doing that. But just to have a livelihood, he became a librarian of the king. So of course, because he loved to read, he read the whole library. And his job was to proofread a great big book called Raja Ratnakar, which was a biography of all the kings in one lineage. And he still realized that this was wasting too much of his time. So he said to the king, I want to quit. And the king said, oh yeah, no, please just teach the princess some Sanskrit and Bengali. So he was doing that, and after that, he again thought, I'm not going anywhere beyond Calcutta, so I have to preach more. And then he told the king, now it's really time for me to leave, so I'm going to go. And the king said, okay, no problem, I'll still give you a full pension. And then he accepted the pension for a few years, but then after that, he said, I don't want to take anything from you now. And so after that, he was studying more and more, but then Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, he said, if you have to preach, you have to receive initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. So he said, go to Gaur Kishori Das Babaji and receive initiation. So Gaur Kishori Das Babaji was the disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he was such a pure devotee of the Lord that his 24 hours engagement was chanting. He would live under a tree in some forest, and he would sometimes wear cloth obtained from like a cremation ground or something like that. And sometimes if he didn't get that, he would roam around naked, and his food was sometimes uncooked grains or sometimes just some leaves and fruits. So he lived like that in a very, very austere way. And now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was instructed to go and take initiation from him. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went, and Gaur Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj was just shunning him. He said, who are you? I don't have anything to do with you. I don't want you here. I'm not qualified. Just go away. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says later in his life, he said, every word Gaur Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj was saying, I felt like the ego in my heart was getting crushed. And of course, maybe he didn't have any ego, but out of his humility, he said that I felt like I was getting humble when Gaur Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj was saying that. And here's another lesson you can learn, that Whenever someone chastises you, know that it's for your good, and know that they're doing it just to clear your path to go back to Godhead. I mean, how long can you walk on a road which has a rock at every step? You need someone to remove those rocks. And this is one of the ways. When someone is chastising you, take it as a blessing. Don't take it as like an insult. So that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually said later in his life. And after that, and then when he went to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, after lots of argument, no, I don't want to give you initiation, no, please give me initiation, and things like that. Finally, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you don't give me initiation, I will drown myself in the Ganges. And that wasn't like a suicidal attempt or something. It was just because he took it really seriously, because that was his father's order. And so Gaur Kishore Das Babaji finally said, all right, and then he initiated him. And after that, he wanted to go preach, because that was his main aim. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, Calcutta is a powerful place of Maya. So he said, if you go there now, in the stage you are in, he was already up there, but he said, if you go there, Maya will capture you. So he said, stay here and chant 1 billion names of Krishna, and then you can go to preach. And immediately, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur agreed. He said, yes, I will do that. So there's another lesson again. I was actually hearing from my Maharaj that his obedience toward his father, knowing that his father was his well-wisher, he said he had complete trust that my father won't do anything which will go against me. So with that faith, and that faith actually helped him to complete 9 years of japa continuously. And he finished 1 billion names of Krishna. And he would actually, the whole 9 years, he just survived on a palmful of rice every day. So a very austere personality. And then after a while, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he passes away. And now there were a bunch of people were arguing over in whose ashram would Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's samadhi be. And they were fighting over it not because they had devotion or love or anything toward Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. They just wanted money. So because people would come to their ashram, look at the samadhi, then put some money, and they could use the money for the nonsense they wanted to do. So they were completely bad people. And then they were also having a fight over, they wanted to drag Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's body on the streets of Navadvip. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji actually said before he left his body that, please drag my dead body on the streets of Navadvip. And that he said out of his humility, because he considered himself a fallen soul, but he wasn't, definitely. And none of them understood his intention. And they just wanted to drag him on the streets of Navadvip. But then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came and said, do you know what you're doing? He said, he's a great soul, you can't do that. And they were still arguing, and finally Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you will have the right to touch the body of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji if any of you can tell me that from the past 1 year you did not have any connection with women. And they all hung their heads down. He said, past 6 months, no connection with women? And no one could say yes. And he said, 1 month, no connection with women, and all of them were down. He says 3 days, no connection with women, and no one could say I didn't have any. So all of them left, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I can say that I have not had any connection with a woman. So he did the samadhi rites for Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and that was actually a legacy Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left off. His legacy was to understand intentions of your spiritual master. And that's what Srila Prabhupada did. He understood the intentions of his spiritual master, and that's what all our current Maharajas and GBC are doing. They understood the intentions of Srila Prabhupada, and that's why ISKCON is still flourishing, and that's why we could celebrate our 50th anniversary just last year. And so after that, after a while, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also leaves this planet. And now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is actually in anxiety because 2 great acharyas have passed away from this world. And now we have to still propagate, and it hasn't gone too far. So he knows that sannyasis are given lots of respect in India at that time. So he says that I have to take sannyas initiation. So this is something we should never imitate. because he could do it because he was a ray of Lord Vishnu. So what he did was he placed a picture of Gaur Kishori Das Babaji on, because he has departed, and then he sat in front of there and he received his second and sannyas initiation through the picture. And the picture actually gave him the mantras. So that is something we should definitely not do, because that was very, very dangerous. And it was possible only for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because he was an associate of Krishna. And after that, he started preaching. So he was publishing books, which he knew how to do and was trained by his father from his very childhood. And he published all the books which were unpublished of his father. And he wrote new articles on Krishna consciousness. And he always believed in 4 principles. He used to say, purity is the force, books are the basis, preaching is the essence, and utility is the principle. And he always stuck to those. And he always said, I have 3 priorities. He said, 1 is chanting the holy names of the Lord. And 2 is to read the books. And the 3rd one is to preach. So and later, every single thing he did was a great lesson for all of us. And actually, there's one story which Devakinandan Prabhu was sharing with me, that once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was invited to do the inauguration of a temple. And then there he saw that one of the devotees in the temple was missing. So he asked the congregation devotees that, where is this devotee? And they said, oh, he got offended. Someone said something to him. So he left. And he was really upset. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, it takes blood to make each devotee. And then he said, go find the devotee, beg forgiveness, and make him come back to the temple, or else this inauguration will not happen. So they go and they try to find the devotee everywhere, and they can't find him. And finally, they know that this devotee has a friend who is a watchmaker. He would repair watches. And they think maybe he would know where he is. So they go to him, and finally the watchmaker tells them that, yeah, he's in my backyard. He's working on some watches. So they go there and fall at his feet and beg forgiveness. And then they say, please, this is what's happening. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wants to see you. And he was really upset when he learned that you got offended. So the devotee comes back, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks to him while he embraces him, and then he says sorry, and then the inauguration took place. So that's one thing we should really, really imbibe in ourselves, is the devotee care. Even if it's devotees or non-devotees, everyone we come in contact with, we should make sure we don't offend them, and we should make sure that we always give them a good impression about a devotee. And Prabhupada actually also emphasized on that. Once, in 26 Second Avenue, there was a small congregation in the beginning, so everyone knew everyone. So Prabhupada was there, and there was a few boys coming, and one of the boys was especially interested in Krishna consciousness, and he would come. And after that, Prabhupada went to Los Angeles for preaching, and then by the time he came back, one boy was missing, and he wasn't coming to the temple anymore. And Prabhupada said, where is this one boy who used to come? And one devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, he just became like a drug addict, and then he committed suicide. And Prabhupada literally started crying, tears were flowing out of his eyes. And he said he was such a nice boy, and he loved prasadam so much. And then he asked the devotees that, did any of you say anything to him? Did he just go? And then the devotee said, oh, he just left. And then Prabhupada was really upset. He said, ISKCON depends on devotees. He said, without each other, we are nothing. If you all weren't there, who am I going to speak to, right? So all of us are really important to each other. And it's always important to make sure that we keep the relationship up with each other. And so after that, he continued in his preaching mission. And one more example he showed one more lesson he taught through his own example was, utility is the principle. So once, it was Ekadashi day, and at that time, Ekadashi meant nirjala, so no water. And every day the brahmacharis used to go out for preaching. And this particular day was Ekadashi Nirjala, and they were just sitting there. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came, and he said, what's up, why are you guys going out today? And then they said, oh, we're just a little dull and weak today because we didn't drink any water. And then he was mad. He said, you're not supposed to stop preaching for things like this. He said, go eat khichdi and then go preach. Well, of course, they understood his intention, and they didn't eat khichdi, but they ate fruits, some nuts, and some milk. And then they went out and started preaching. So we should also learn from that if anything is a hindrance or a block in your devotional service, even though it outwardly may seem really Krishna conscious, if it's stopping you in your sadhana, then actually put it aside. And I heard from, I think Rompad Maharaj, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a thing called Mayavadi phobia. So he couldn't brook any misunderstandings in the Vaishnava philosophy. So he would just pounce on the person who would say anything against Krishna conscious philosophy. So he was really, really, really aggressive in that terms. He wouldn't let any misinterpretations go on about Lord Chaitanya's mission. So that's why he was called the Lion Guru, because he had that courage. He was so fearless to go and preach like that. And he was so against the impersonalist philosophy that he said, I can live in a dark room full of snakes and tigers, but I cannot live in a room with even one Mayavadi. Because he said, snakes poison the body, but Mayavadis, they poison the mind. So they're very, very dangerous. And so he continued preaching for a long time. He made many disciples, and he actually sent them to countries like Europe. And some reason they didn't succeed, and they came back. And he was always looking for someone who could go and preach in the West. And finally, his departure took place a few weeks after he had a high fever. He had a really bad fever, but he refused any medical treatment. He said, just go on chanting Hare Krishna. Why are you doing everything? Why are you disturbing me? And the day before he departed, he made one of his disciples sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, and then he begged forgiveness from all the devotees. He said, I was very aggressive, but only because I wanted everyone to turn their faces toward Krishna. So that was his humility, even throughout his life, because he was so up there that people would say that they would respect him everywhere, and then he would say that I am nothing without my father and my spiritual master. So that was his humility, and it stayed even at the time when he was leaving his body. And they asked him, is there any last instructions you want to give us which will sustain the movement? And he said, my instructions are what I've been giving all my life. He said 3 priorities: chanting, books, and preaching. He said our goal is to become Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami. So always chant the Mahamantra, and always read the books of the Acharyas, and always preach what you have right now. And then he said, then we're going to become eligible to go back to Godhead. And so that was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life. And the greatest contribution that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave to this world is our dear Srila Prabhupada. If Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't tell him at their first meeting that you look like, so Prabhupada was over there and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was lecturing, and he said, you look like an educated young man, why don't you go and preach in the Western countries? And then like that, Prabhupada's relationship built with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and finally he accepted him as his spiritual master. And once in Radhakund, the last time they met, he told Srila Prabhupada that if you ever get money, print books. So that Srila Prabhupada, those 2 instructions he took as his life and soul. And with the empowerment of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada came to the Western countries, and then he delivered so many fallen souls, and that's why we have ISKCON right now. I mean, just imagining where we would have been if ISKCON wasn't there, it's pretty horrific, right? Because, especially for people who've been around for a while. I'm just 12 years old, but all of you have more experience in the material world than I do, and it's dangerous, really dangerous. And now Prabhupada just gave us a house completely aloof from the material world for everyone, for the whole world to fit into. So, and that and everything is due to the mercy of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And their instructions were really that we should always chant, read books, and preach. And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always preferred individual preaching more than platform speaking. So, and that's what we do in ISKCON. We have bhakti rickshaws, and we have lots of bhakti rickshaws in New Jersey as well, and Edison, we have lots of bhakti rickshaws. So if some of you aren't connected to one of the bhakti rickshaws, please ask one of our senior devotees, and they'll give you the address and things of the bhakti rickshaw. And that really helps us know more of the Krishna conscious philosophy, and that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada gave us. They wanted everyone to become Krishna conscious. So yeah, I would like to end with that. And are there any questions or comments, any discussion? So thank you all for being patient with me all this while. And oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you. Yeah, by Bhakti Vikas. Yeah. That's true. Yes. Yeah. Dictated them. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? I am personally not sure about why he himself didn't come, but it was actually a prediction that Srila Prabhupada would come to the Western countries, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that a Senapati Bhakta will come and lead my movement. So that was Srila Prabhupada, and I don't want to speculate on any of this, so I want to read more about that and then answer your question. Thank you. Yeah, the initiated name of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita Das. That was his initiated name given by Gaur Kishori Das Babaji. And that means the one who is the recipient of Srimati Radharani's mercy. So he had all of Srimati Radharani's mercy in him, which he gave to the world. So thank you, everyone, for being patient with me all this while. And please forgive me. I want to say one more thing. And please forgive me for all the offenses I might have committed in this endeavor. And I thank you all very, very much. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So I just wanted to make final statement that Hrsta Devi, sometimes you see children, they try their best to get the mic, to get the main seat, but we had to actually beg her to come and speak. So this is speak of her humility. Her parents wanted, but she said, no, other senior Vaishnavas are here. I don't want to speak in front of the senior Vaishnavas. So that's a wonderful quality. Let's thank her for this wonderful wisdom. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So let's thank Hrsta Devi Mataji again with a loud Haribol! 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 Some few announcements for today. First of all, thank you all for coming to this Sunday Feast program. Is anybody coming here for the first time? Please stand up if you don't mind. We'd like to welcome you all, but especially those coming here for the first time, also with a loud Haribol! 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 At our reception counter, you'll get a small token gift from our center. So on your way, please collect that. Hare Krishna. Okay. Today's Sunday Feast is sponsored by a few families. Moti